led by the state of California, which has completed an extensive study and put forth recommendations to enact reparations. California's reparations actions have huge nationwide implications. The California Task Force was the first of its kind in the nation, and the states of New York and Colorado recently voted to take on the issue. Dozens of cities from coast to coast, including San Francisco, Boston, Los Angeles, and Detroit, have started their own reparations commissions. One of the first known reparationists was Callie House, who toured the nation advocating for reparations in the 1890s. But never in this nation's history has the movement to heal the harms of enslavement, institutionalized racism, and the system of white supremacy seemed so strong. The topic remains untouchable for most elected officials, and the call for reparations has not yet garnered widespread public support. Polling shows that most Californians agree that black fellow citizens are still suffering from the damage done by slavery and Jim Crow, but they still do not support cash reparations. The California Legislative Black Caucus has introduced a package of proposals for bills that do not include 1 penny of cash compensation, restitution, or repair. Governor Newsom and other lawmakers have distanced themselves from the concept of cash payments. While Newsom is right, cash alone will not repair our collective harm, the state's goofy legislative package ignoring monetary payments is disingenuous. California lawmakers need to step up and put a reparations bill for cash payments on the table. The issue of how it is funded, the timeline, or whether it impacts our current budget challenges can be addressed. But we must strike while the iron is hot, or the window of opportunity will pass us by. If you agree that it's time for our lawmakers to add a bill enacting cash payments to their lineup, call them at 916-319-3868 and say, if it doesn't include cash, it ain't reparations. That's 916-319-3868. Tell him Callie House sent you. From Bruce's Beach to the California Task Force, the Golden State is a trailblazer when it comes to reparations. The world is watching. We must rise to the historical moment and set a precedent for cash payments along with legislative remedies and policies addressing the systemic badges of slavery and Jim Crow. We must insist on measures significant enough to help close the racial wealth gap. California must stand for cash, and the time for reparations is now. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Dominique DiPrima. We welcome your comments.
Thank you, love. And of course, a couple of years ago, 4 little girls were killed in Alabama. And at that time, we got the inspiration to do this song. But Dr. King's murder has left me so numb. I don't know where I'm at, really. And of course you heard this song that was composed by Gene Taylor, especially for today. But I hope that between now and the end of the year, it'll all be together enough that we will have songs that go down in history for these wonderful, brave people who are no longer with us. Alabama's got me so upset. Tennessee made me lose my rest. Everybody knows about Mississippi, goddamn. Alabama's got me so upset. Lurleen Wallace has made me lose my rest. Everybody knows about Mississippi, goddamn. Can't you see it? I know you can feel it. It's all in the air. I can't stand the pressure much longer. Somebody say a prayer. Alabama has got me so upset, and Memphis has made me lose my rest.
KBLA Talk 1580. And big news coming down on yesterday. This group of sheriff's deputies who call themselves the Goon Squad, it's not a name I made up, it's something they dubbed themselves. They pleaded guilty last year to assaulting, torturing two black men, shooting one of them in the mouth during a raid on their home. There's also a white individual who's caught up in this same torture, assault, and beating scandal, I guess you could call it. This is out of Mississippi. And on yesterday, they got two of the six got very long sentences, relatively long. For law enforcement, incredibly long. A federal judge ordered Hunter Elward, this is the one who shot one of the victims in the mouth, to serve 20 years in prison. The guy that was the supervisor over the self-proclaimed Goon Squad, his name is Jeffrey Middleton. He used to be a lieutenant. He got almost 18 years in his sentence. And the guy, the shooter, the one who got 20 years, was crying. He apologized. And he, as he was leaving, one of the victims stood up and said he forgave him. His name is Eddie Parker. He said, "I forgive you." The lawyer in this case, Malik Shabazz, doing an amazing job. But, of course, the untold story that you don't see in any of the coverage of this, and there's going to be a lot of coverage because there are 4 more sentences that are coming down, probably today, possibly tomorrow, is that Black Lives Matter, the Mississippi chapter, was instrumental in this. And we talked about it before on this show, before we came to the sentencing portion, how they worked, they protested, they pushed to expose this Goon Squad for who they were, and then continue to protest, rally, organize to get these folks convicted and make sure they received the biggest sentences possible. Of course, the families of the victims. And in this case, you have victims who are living. They weren't killed. They were tortured, sexually assaulted, shot, beaten. So in this particular case, there are 6 sheriff deputies that are facing these charges. They're at a courthouse in Jackson. These are federal civil rights offenses. And then the guy, the white Susan Allen Schmidt, he was assaulted in a separate incident, but it's part of the same case. His was from December 2022. This is in Rankin County, Mississippi, but they're at a Jackson courthouse. So this case is focused on these 6 deputies, and so far it's historic. The amount of time that they're receiving in this case is substantial. It's not what we typically see. But even though we're talking about these 6, there was an investigation done by the New York Times in a paper called Mississippi Today. And what they found was that these activities, if you want to call it that, this terror, has been going on for 20 years. That these self-appointed torturers, self-appointed terrorists, named themselves the Goon Squad. And they would go into people's houses in the middle of the night and torture them, handcuff them, beat them, and force confessions out of them, force them to give information. They said they claimed to be, looking for those big busts, trying to get to the top of the food chain of criminals. That's what they claim. But as their methods of doing that were to torture black people and low-income folks. Apparently during one of these cases where they said they were trying to get a drug arrest, they rammed a stick down this guy's throat until he started throwing up. They went full Game of Thrones and melted metal, like metal so hot that it will actually drip onto this guy, his skin, naked skin, molten metal. Yeah, those of you who watch Game of Thrones know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, this is in real life in Mississippi. And they routinely beat people up. They routinely beat people to a bloody pulp. And these investigations, Mississippi Today and the New York Times, they interviewed dozens of people who corroborated this and shared experiences they had during these so-called raids. And some of them have filed their own lawsuits. Some of them have made complaints to the police, to the sheriff's department for Rankin County, and so far they say they've been ignored. These are 6 white men, but I'm sure they're not the only ones. It's kind of like the Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies' gangs. Will we ever get a full accounting of who those folks are and were? Hunter Elward, Christian Dedman, Brett McAlpin, Jeffrey Middleton, Daniel Opdyke, and this one guy who wasn't even a sheriff deputy. He was a police officer from Richland called Joshua Hartfield. So those other 4 will be sentenced probably today, maybe tomorrow. Of course, the sheriff is saying he knew nothing about it. He's saying he will not step down, even though the NAACP and Black Lives Matter Grassroots, Black Lives Matter Mississippi have been mounting a campaign along with the families of these victims to make the sheriff resign. But he says he won't do so. And I think it's important to note, even while hearing this terrible story, that it does represent progress. There's accountability here. There's an exposing of the wrongdoing here. That means, to me, the marching, the protesting, the petitioning, the educating of people to understand how this really shows up statistically. What does the evidence tell us about the way Black people are treated by law enforcement in this country, and what can we do about it? It is making a difference. It's undoubtedly making a difference, or we would not see this outcome. 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this or whatever else you have on your mind this fine morning. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
Climate is king.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that caring for the community means caring about the climate. You might have heard that we announced a pretty bold 12-month, $2 million campaign to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people with the resources they need to survive and thrive, and highlight frontline climate justice crusaders of color throughout this year. KBLA Talk 1580 will be bringing you insightful interviews on all of our shows to help raise your climate IQ. Each quarter this year, we will also be hosting free climate events in various communities throughout the city with food, fun, and forward-thinking conversations. Thanks to partners like LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, the Sierra Club, the California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, AQMD, MWD, and more. You'll also be hearing more about a couple of national town halls broadcasting live from Los Angeles, to which you will be invited. And we'll be rolling out a robust social media campaign on all our platforms, as well as an outdoor media campaign, all designed to educate, enlighten, and empower you in our fight for climate justice.
We want cleaner air.
Caring about the community means caring about the climate. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that we really can change the world if we care enough.
Tax Talk with Straight Talk. You give and you give. This tax season, you get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data and a Samsung Galaxy A14 included when you buy an extended Silver Unlimited plan. So you can give your janky phone to your kid. Yeah!
Switch to Straight Talk. Find us at Walmart and straighttalk.com. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com. Device offer ends 4/14/24. Taxes and fees apply.
On your period, sudden gushes happen without warning. But now, you can say goodbye to stand-up gush fears. Thanks to Always Ultra Thins with rapid dry technology. It absorbs gushes 2 times faster than the leading store brand and gives you up to 100% leak-free protection. Hello, clean and comfortable with Always Fear No Gush.
So you just used bug spray in your home. Now what? Well, between the waiting and waiting for things to dry up and keeping your family away from the mess, it hits you. You could have used Zevo. Unlike other bug sprays that stick around, Zevo goes from kill to clean in seconds. Plus, it's safe for use around people and pets when used as directed. Zevo, people-friendly, bug-deadly.
Sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. Sometimes we try to fit it all in. Sometimes we don't know what's in store. Sometimes we find what we're looking for. Sometimes we're rolling easy and free. Sometimes 1 and 1 makes 3. So much to love along this ride. That's why Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, just talking about the so-called Goon Squad. That's what they named themselves. They're in Rankin County, Mississippi. All of that started with a neighbor, a person in the neighborhood, a white person, calling to complain that these black men were staying in a white woman's house. And then the sheriffs came and tortured them. U.S. District Judge Tom Lee said the deputies' actions were egregious and despicable and said that a sentence at the top of the guidelines range was justified. Again, I'm going to say this is progress. This is not what we're used to. This is a real accountability. Let's go to Derek calling us from Colorado.
How you doing, Dominique?
I'm
I was
blessed.
just thinking about you. You mentioned about the people that once they were sentenced, they were saying, "I forgive you." Didn't we see that before in Charleston, South Carolina, where the same black people were saying the same thing? I forgive the person who.
Yes.
Is that a black thing, or do we tend to be very forgiving? I mean, we tend to forgive other groups, but we don't tend to forgive our own people.
That's a good point.
Some black guy does something to us. Our black guy does something to us. We'll hold grudges, but if somebody else does something to us, I mean, we're loving and kind and.
Yeah, we've lost Derek. Derek, maybe give me a call back if you don't mind. That was our fault. 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. Yeah, you got a point, Derek. We do tend to forgive. It's worth noting that, the man that was shot in the face by one of these deputies in what they called a pretend execution, said that he didn't forgive him. He pointedly said this outside the courtroom. He said if he wouldn't have gotten caught, he would still be doing the same thing. Okay, so it's true we are forgiving, and I think in many cases that has to do with our faith. We feel like we should be forgiving. But you have a great point, Derek. And I think it's self-hate. I think it's, our conditioning. I've heard from many a lawyer that I've interviewed over the years that black people are hard on other black people in the courtroom or more skeptical of each other, and that women are harder on women. To me, that's conditioning. That's That's our conditioning. So that our Christian faith or Muslim faith or whatever it is kicks in when we're forgiving white folks for our enslavement or for torturing and brutalizing us, but not so much when we're talking about the myth, the talking point of black on black crime. We know that every race kills and brutalizes their own. So that's why I call it a talking point. Oh, look, Friday Jones is on the phone. Good morning, Friday.
Good day, Dominique DiPrima. I called to talk a little bit about the Goon Squad. There's a brother in Mississippi that is an activist, and I keep in touch with him. And he sent me some email about this, and it's tough because, and his name is Brother Kareem Muhammad. Salam alaikum to Brother Kareem Muhammad down there in Jackson, Mississippi. But, you know, the Emmett Till Mississippi fundraising, I guess, foundation tried to do some fundraising for Michael Jenkins, I think is his last name.
Yes.
That's the brother who was shot in the head. And, like, that fundraiser raised $60.
60?
60. And
Wow.
I say that to say, I say that, and I shared that on my social media, but I say that just to say, you know, when we are injured like that, and people may follow Benjamin Crump and they see like the success stories, and we have a tendency to say, oh, why do we always, you know, go after just the money for redemption? In this case, we have 6 supposedly peace officers who violated like human rights kind of level violations. And when we need that legal support, there's no, like, the news media is kind of coming out now, right? Now that they're being prosecuted.
Yeah.
But there was time leading up to this that family, Michael Jenkins' family, needed, you know, financial support. Luckily, there were attorneys who were able to sort of come around and do pro bono work. But when it comes to stuff like this, we as a people have to do more than just talk about the headline.
I agree. I agree.
more.
One of the reasons I really wanted to point out, you know, the Mississippi chapter of Black Lives Matter and Marquell and those guys, because they have been boots on the ground and they've also been providing a certain amount of support, not a lot of money, but whatever support they can to the family. And to your point, you've got Attorney Malik Shabazz on this. So it's not a Ben Crump. It's not some, you know, sort of superstar mediagenic attorney. These are folks, like you said, that, you know, are putting in the work and you know, maybe working entirely pro bono, or maybe they'll get paid if there's ever some kind of a settlement.
We need to help Brother Malik. Malik Shabazz stands, you know, in the space often.
Yeah, that's true.
He stands in the space often. And you know I'm a reparationist. People, like, I stay connected to the communities that I go to, and Jackson, Mississippi is one of those communities. I've worked with Brother Shabazz, Malik Shabazz in the past, Attorney Malik Shabazz. And the fight, to me, always goes back to places like Mississippi, places like Alabama and Kentucky, because they were the center, you know, back during the civil rights era. And I feel like we as a people feel it the most today in those places. So I just want to give my support to the family. I'm glad those guys were prosecuted. I wish from a reparations standpoint there were federal protections that would also kick in, because the messaging has to be across this land that this is not acceptable. And I have a way of saying the violence that people experienced during slavery, it didn't go anywhere. It went underground. And it went underground with people like this.
Friday, when you say that, you're talking about, you know, you talk about the sort of international definitions of reparations. One of them is non-repetition, right? So,
well, yeah, like non-repetition, like there's no real fear of non-repetition.
Yeah.
You know, those officers, this is not their first violation. This is probably the most egregious that they couldn't cover up because they thought that young man was going to die, and he didn't.
Right, and this has been going on apparently for 20 years. But my question is, like, when you talk about federal protections, I was trying to tie that into this idea of non-repetition. But what do you mean specifically when you say federal protections? This is a federal civil rights case that brought the charges. But what do you mean by federal protections?
I mean, like, those. You know me. I'm a descendant-based reparationist, and I am pretty sure those black guys in Mississippi, they had to come from a people who have already been traumatized. They had to come from right, and so there should be, federal protections in a way where whoever called because they were in a white woman's house, they shouldn't be the law enforcement that shows up. There should be some protective arm of the federal government that shows up in a way for us where they know you can't violate these people. There has to be protections, and this might have been a federal case that was brought against them, but when law officers go rogue, there should be a federal law that basically mandates they can't even take their credentials to another jurisdiction and work. We have that law that passed in California, but that California law should be a federal law.
Yeah, a lot of great points there. That's kind of the connection I was thinking you were making. If we actually had a guarantee of non-repetition of harm, then we would have to have some kind of agency, federal or otherwise, specifically addressing a claim that could be racist, i.e. there's black guys in a white lady's house, and responding rather than racist local sheriffs to protect us from the ongoing badges and harms of enslavement and Jim Crow.
Back in the day, we had the U.S. Marshals until that compromise of 1877, brokered by Congressman, I think his name was William Levy. I think Levy is his last name. That compromise set us back. Those U.S. Marshals were removed from the South in that compromise. And at this point, we need some kind of protection like that back where, U.S. Marshals respond to the crazy calls that can turn excessive. It's not the local protection, because the local officers have really just been slaying us in such a public and demeaning way. And there has to be some actual relief for us as citizens. We pay taxes just like everyone else. We're the most audited group of people in this country, black people.
So true. Friday, we got news, traffic, and sports right here. If you want to keep the conversation going, I'd love to keep you on, but that's your call. I know you're a busy woman. And by the way, Ramadan Mubarak is KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Former President Trump says he'll need to take extreme measures to pay his $464 million bond in his New York civil fraud case. That includes selling some of his properties quickly for cheap fire sale prices. Trump took aim at Judge Arthur Engoron, who ruled against him in the case. In a Truth Social post, Trump complained that Engoron actually wants me to put up hundreds of millions of dollars for the right to appeal his ridiculous decision. The first two of the 6 former Rankin County, Mississippi law enforcement officers who pleaded guilty to torturing and sexually assaulting 2 black men last year were sentenced to lengthy prison terms in federal court Tuesday. Hunter Elwood was sentenced to 20 years and Jeffrey Middleton was ordered to spend 17 years behind bars. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Why settle for ordinary when you can have extraordinary hair? Visit your local SoCal FS Cut and Color Salon today and let their team of expert stylists pamper you with affordable luxury. Get a free shampoo with every cut. Book your appointment today at fantasticsams.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A tough day for alumni at Howard University. The Howard men's basketball team lost to Wagner by 3 in Tuesday's play-in game in the NCAA tournament in Dayton, Ohio. Howard had 3 attempts to knock down a game-tying three-pointer in the final 10 seconds, but missed all 3 shots. Howard ends the season at 18-17. Wagner moves on to play North Carolina Thursday in Charlotte. North Carolina is the #1 seed in the East Regional. The other HBCU school in the NCAA tournament is Grambling. The Tigers played Montana State today in a Midwest Regional play-in game in Dayton, 3:40 p.m. tip-off on True TV. It's a special day for Grambling and their alumni around the country. This is the first NCAA tournament game for Grambling in school history. The Clippers are back in action tonight at Portland. The Lakers are off until Friday's home game against Philadelphia. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
LADWP is proud to partner with KBLA to share with you how to start the new year without bill worries. We're here to help if you're behind on your bill or need help staying current. Sign up anytime online for Level Pay to set predictable monthly payments throughout the year, including for past due amounts. You can also check out the special extended pay arrangements of up to 48 months to help pay down your bill. If you're a senior or income qualified, you may be eligible for Easy Save to receive discounts and also qualify for free and discounted energy and water saving devices. You can get up to $15,000 for past due water and or sewer bills and up to $3,000 for electric bills. But you gotta act fast. Funding is limited. You can reduce your past due bills and kick off the year right, because here at LADWP, we're here to help. Visit ladwp.com/cares today and find out more.
If you're an adult in need of an accredited high school diploma, the Los Angeles Public Library can help. You can earn one for free in as few as 5 months online with 24/7 access. You also get a personal academic coach plus special training focused on 9 in-demand industries, as well as a resume and cover letter to advance your career. Visit the website at lapl.org/diploma. That's lapl.org/diploma.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
We've been talking about the case of the so-called Goon Squad, self-described Goon Squad, consisting mostly of Rankin County Sheriff's deputies who apparently had been terrorizing people in that county for 2 decades and most likely still are. Most of those complaints have gone unanswered. But Michael Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker were 2 black men who were terrorized by them. 6 of those so-called Goon Squad members pleaded guilty and are now being sentenced. 2 yesterday got substantial time, 1 20 years, 1 18. There will be another 2 sentenced today and 2 more the following day. This happened after a neighbor called to say 2 black men were staying with a white woman. That was their complaint. Don't think it's against the law, but these Goon Squad folks responded and tortured, beat, sexually assaulted the men. One was shot in the mouth. This group of deputies broke into this home without a warrant. They assaulted these brothers, one with stun guns, a sex toy, other objects, and did a mock execution, which ended up with Brother Jenkins, Michael Jenkins, being shot in the mouth. They poured milk and chocolate and sauce and alcohol all over their faces. They forced them to strip naked and shower together to clean up the mess they had made on these men. They called them racial slurs. And the judge said that the top end of the sentencing guidelines was warranted. This is historic in the length of these sentences, and we shall see real accountability that comes from the work on the ground, the boots on the ground people, the family, the lawyer, Malik Shabazz, the boots on the ground people, the Mississippi branch of Black Lives Matter grassroots, and the families of those individuals. Let's go to Derek. Called us back from Colorado, accidentally got disconnected. Derek, you were bringing up this idea that we as black people forgive white folks too much.
Or anybody.
Too much forgiveness.
If it's somebody,
yeah,
we tend to forgive people, and when it comes to the black, I just noticed that in my time period being black is that if a black person does something to us, the heck with him, and I'm going to get even with him. We'll hold grudges. Whereas if some white guy or if somebody else does something to us, we're loving and kind, and we all make mistakes, and we show no mercy at all. I mean, we show mercy to them, but we don't show any mercy towards people that are black.
Well, hopefully we're healing that.
Maybe that's
I hope we're healing that. Just like we've had to heal so many things. Black is beautiful. Black is forgivable. Maybe we need a new slogan. To forgive ourselves, forgive each other. B. Bell of Bad Dog Bullies agrees with you. We forgive too much, and points out that these Goon Squad members were like the original KKK and that they are night riders.
Right. And one of the things, previous caller was talking about, she was talking about the U.S. Marshal. My understanding that was the Hayes-Tillman Act, 1877. That was, that was federal troops. They were removed.
Right, that were meant to protect, black people from the kind of racial terror that we're talking about right now.
Right. And but like I said, we tend to be. I just notice the black people I know, they tend to be very forgiving and kind, and they want to. In fact, they want to help other. I've seen it myself in my travels, is that we allow anybody to open up a business in our neighborhood, that we'll support them, and but it comes to a black person. I'm telling you, if you're a black person running a black business, very tough and very difficult, because maybe that's the way we're wired, or maybe
it's not the way we're wired. It's the way we've been conditioned. This is part of the legacy of enslavement. We can call for reparations from the government, from industry, from the church, from these educational institutions, from states, from counties, from cities, but there is part of that repair that we have to do for ourselves. And that is the repair of our conditioning by the system of white supremacy towards self-hate and the hate of each other, the mistrust of each other, this whole idea that the white man's ice is colder. It's not something we were born with. We didn't have that when we were an ancient Kemet, inventing civilization, creating modern medicine. That wasn't a problem that we had then. It is the result of conditioning that is the direct descendant of enslavement, Jim Crow, and continues consciously and unconsciously in everyday media.
Okay.
I think so. Don't you think so? And I'm a light-skinned woman, so let's acknowledge light-skin privilege. The reality is we are conditioned every day in television shows, magazine covers, and commercials, and etc. That what is it? If you're white, you're all right. If you're black, get back. If you're brown, stick around. Right? The colorism, the shade. If you're yellow, you're mellow. The caste system. It's not a flaw in our character.
I'm glad I got some of your feedback, and I appreciate some of your feedback, because I just see so much of it every place.
Your phone is kind of breaking up. I don't know if you went into the living room or you're in a parking lot, but all of a sudden your phone is choppy. But I agree with what you're saying, Derek. I think it is true. The reason I say it's getting better is because we are doing the repair, healing work ourselves. We are embracing the beauty of our melanated glory. And people want to call that reverse discrimination or racism. No, it's not. It's healing. It's reclaiming our melanated ancestors and our black brilliance. And that is undoing the harm, exactly what you're talking about. That self-hate is something that was inculcated into us. It is not in our nature. It is not our legacy. It is not what our ancestors stood for, experienced, or promoted. It is the legacy of white supremacy. If you can convince people to hate each other, crabs in a barrel, tear each other down, and tear ourselves down by constantly striving for these sort of idealized white standards of beauty and excellence, which are nothing but an illusion, then other people don't even need to oppress you because you're real busy oppressing yourselves and each other. I mean, that's, I didn't make that up. I learned that from scholars and activists who are far smarter than me, but I believe and agree and see it. Is your phone back, Derek? We got your phone back?
Yeah, it's. Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you. Now you sound great. Okay, so I just wanted to let you go ahead and respond.
One thing I do like is maybe you should have Gerald Horn on. My father likes him a lot. He's a very sharp guy.
We always love to have Dr. Gerald Horn on. He does have a job, so I can't get him on here every day. But I love having Dr. Horn on. And although we don't have a date scheduled, I'm sure he will be popping up on the show sometime soon. Appreciate the call, Derek, very, very much. Derek, call me at 800-920-1580. And you can do the same. Let's go to Jeanette, calling us from Long Beach. Hi, Jeanette.
Yes, hello.
Hi, what's on your mind?
Well, I wanted to talk about the prison system. My son was put in the freezer for punishment and froze to death. And
put in a freezer at a prison?
Yes. And I had an attorney, but the day before we were supposed to go to court, he sent me a fast email that he was dismissing the case. And then
who was dismissing the case? The attorney? Attorney can't dismiss the case. He can drop you as a client. Sounds like that's what happened.
That's what happened.
So what prison is this?
At Blythe.
Blythe. Okay.
Yes,
and
Blythe, California.
And you're saying they told you that they put him in the freezer and he froze to death?
Yes. What happened was the first person that called, they called my mother because I was at work. And they told my mother what happened. They said it was an accident. And then I called it. I get emotional about it. I called them back, and then they told me that that's what had happened, but it was an accident. And so I tried other attorneys, but they said they couldn't fight the federal government because that's what he was in, a federal prison. And so I have tried. I have talked to people. And then once I got all of this started with the attorneys, the police started harassing me. They started following me and giving me tickets and coming to my house, bamming on the door. It was just nerve-wracking. And I'm a single woman.
Now, this is in California, you said.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Long Beach. I live in Long Beach,
You live in Long Beach, the prison. Okay, and this just sounds horrible, and I'm over here looking it up, trying to, get more information on what you're telling me about, and I'm finding a whole slew of cases of inmates freezing to death in prisons after being put in kitchen freezers. Who knew this was a practice? I never heard of this. Jeanette, will you stay with me? I'd like to hear more of your story when we come forward.
All righty.
Okay, it's KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, a Pfizer vaccine.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
In the heart of California, where innovation thrives, access to high-speed internet is important to every family and business. Cal Broadband is the state's leading expert in the development and deployment of broadband infrastructure. Each day, we work to help advance the right policies that will expand the opportunities of reliable, high-speed internet to every community in our Golden State. Cal Broadband is working hard to connect California. Visit calbroadband.org for more information. That's calbroadband.org.
So you just used bug spray in your home. Now what? Well, between the waiting and waiting for things to dry up and keeping your family away from the mess, it hits you. You could have used Zevo. Unlike other bug sprays that stick around, Zevo goes from kill to clean in seconds. Plus, it's safe for use around people and pets when used as directed. Zevo, people-friendly, bug-deadly.
Oh, this cold.
Honey?
Honey?
Honey, you need DayQuil Severe Honey.
DayQuil Severe Honey gives you powerful cold and flu symptom relief with a honeylicious taste, because life doesn't stop for a cold.
Okay, I'm ready to go.
Now I'm getting a cold.
Honey.
Try DayQuil Severe Honey for powerful cold and flu relief. DayQuil Severe with honey flavor. The daytime coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever, honeylicious, power through your day medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
If you're looking for the most epic place on earth, let's start at the base of a massive waterfall. Then trek through the thick jungle. Then climb to the peak of a snowy mountaintop. Then once you get there, keep going. Because with intelligent 4x4 and 7 drive modes and a Nissan Pathfinder, the search is the real adventure.
Available feature. Intelligent 4x4 cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
Yeah, we started out talking about the Goon Squad in Mississippi and the fact that they are receiving sentencing. 2 more will be sentenced today, 2 tomorrow, and 2 on yesterday. 1 received 18 and 20 years. These are sheriff's deputies who were torturing, sexually assaulting, and beating up people, including these 2 black men and 1 white citizen who they pleaded guilty to. Jeanette from Long Beach called me to share a story about her child who, she says, froze to death inside of Blythe Prison after being locked in the freezer as punishment. Is that a fair... And by the way, I'm really, really, really sorry for your loss. I mean, there's nothing worse than having a loved one die in custody and you don't know exactly what happened. You have to rely on what officials are telling you, right? But is that a fair recap of what happened to your child?
Yes. It's Blythe.
Blythe, okay.
Blythe, California, uh-huh.
And so, where are you now? I mean, you said they said it was an accident, that he was accidentally locked in the freezer? Is that what they're saying?
Yes. But now let me explain to you what was going on. My son was being harassed by one of the marshals or police officers that was at the prison. He was being harassed, because he wanted to go to bed with my son. And I had talked to him on the phone, and this is what he said, and then they cut him off. So this happened maybe a month before. And so I didn't have transportation to get that far down to the prison to see him. And so when I got this news, I was absolutely stunned. And I had a heart attack right after.
Oh, no.
And so I tried my level best to find an attorney that would handle it, but they were saying, well, we can't fight the federal prison, and it would be too much money, and, your son's been in jail before. Well, I know that, but I wanted, to get to the bottom of this thing. I talked to the head of the prison system himself, whoever, I forget his name, but anyway, because it's been so many years ago. And he said, well, your son was trying to steal some steaks out of the freezer. And so they locked him in there. Just so...
And then he died. So they admitted they locked him into the freezer. They're just...
Yes.
They just thought, he wasn't going to die? That was the argument?
Well, I don't know what they thought.
I mean, I'm just trying to see how this is an accident if you're saying you did it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but that's what they said at first, that it was an accident. But then when I talked to the head of the prison system itself, then he tells me that my son was trying to steal some steaks. Well, you can't cook anything in your jail cell. And they had him in lockdown for quite some time. Because, he just would not go to bed with this guard. And so it was just a little really, really, really heavy on my mind that my son was in trouble down there. And so I, tried calling the prison system and telling them, the warden there, he didn't want to hear it, no, things like that don't happen here. It just went on and on. And because I didn't make enough money, I was just a secretary, and I didn't make total money, but I paid the attorney everything he asked me, and I went to this little hearing with one of the people from the prison, and he's going to question me, and my son was sick, and just all kind of excuses. And so I told him, no, my son wasn't sick. It was nothing wrong with him. He was a healthy young man, and it just went on and on, just round and round, and finally, they just stopped talking to me, period. And so I just didn't know where to go from there. I just, I was so upset about the police, constantly coming to my door, well, we got a call. No, you didn't get a call because I didn't call you. Or, I would pull out of my driveway and I'd get a ticket for, turning the wrong way. Now, how can you turn the wrong way on a right-hand turn? Or you crossed over in front of somebody. And then I got a woman cop, and she just really just read me the riot act. You pulled in the front of somebody. I said, no, I did not. No one was in the back of me. Just on and on and on. It went on for about 3 years. They harassed me after my son was completely gone. And
you never did find an attorney to take that on? You never did get any answers or any justice?
No, I did not. I did not.
Well,
and he left a 2-year-old daughter.
Wow. I'm so sorry to hear that. Well, I'm getting calls right now from activists that want to reach out to you. Molly Bell's in the chat saying, Heavenly Father, we come to join in prayer for our sister. Bless her and her family now. She was ordained by God to call in, get information. Yes. She says, Dominique, you know the right people. I don't know if I know the right people, but certainly there are folks listening to your story, Jeanette, from Long Beach, and I don't know if you've given up, but I have a feeling you haven't, or you would not have picked up the phone and called KBLA this morning. So, I would like to facilitate some kind of follow-up and see, if is there anything that folks can help you with at this point, even though you say it's been quite some time.
Yes, and I appreciate it very, very much. And tell Molly Bell thank you very much for her prayers.
Yeah, she can hear you, I'm sure. Well, is there anything else that you want people to know? I mean, I think I haven't been able to find anything about this, so it seems like it wasn't covered really by the media. And my thing is, it's just another reminder of what Attorney Ben Crump does say, which is don't believe the official story. We always have to dig deeper. Is there anything you want to tell people this morning, Jeanette?
Well, it's just that I don't want this to happen to anybody else. We have enough killings, and I think that we should have that special protection like the Chinese and the Japanese that they gave them from the Senate. And
I mean, that actually does include black people. It's just not in the title. But I think we may need more protection. That's what Friday Jones was talking about. We might need extra protection for non-repetition of the crimes of our enslavement and Jim Crow. Jeanette, let's say his name, Mark Ingram.
Mark Ingram.
Let's say his name.
I just want to say to all the parents out there, keep up with your kids that are in prison. Keep up with them that are in jail, because you never know the mistreatment that they are getting in there.
Jeanette, it's well said, and I'm sorry for all you've been through, and I thank you for sharing your story with us this morning.
And thank you so much for listening to me. I'm so sorry I took up so much of your time.
No apology needed. We had to hear that story this morning. Tavis Smiley's up next. I'm going to leave you with a quote from Malcolm X. He says, "A man who believes in freedom will do anything under the sun to acquire or preserve his freedom." Truer words never spoken. Let's keep the conversation going on social media. KBLA 1580 on all the platforms. You can find me at DiPrima Radio. History is now, and we're making it together. Until tomorrow, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Former President Trump says he'll need to take extreme measures to pay his foreign